Yo, what up? Snake here. Ready to help you once again live the richest experience you can. Today I wanted to talk about college. College is a big, beautiful institution that everyone seems to love to go to and hate to pay off. So today we're going to talk about why to go to college, why not to go to college, and if it's worth it to you. And then after you're out of college, what do you have to do? So, a lot of people have the idea that college is the end-all, be-all, absolute go-to thing. So first I'm going to start off with what I like about college. And then I'll carry on to other parts of my points of view on college. What I do like about college is it's a very social experience, unless you're at a junior college. But like normally if you're at like a regular college, you're staying in dorms, you're with a lot of peers like looking to do the same thing. Most of the time they're people looking to progress and improve their life and, you know, go out and do great things in the world. Also you have like all the parties, and as a young kid you really don't want to miss out on that. But you also have to look at it like, is that, you know, six-figure price tag worth all the parties that I'm going to, or maybe is there a better, easier way to get access to going to a lot of parties? I like college for the aspect of it holds you accountable for doing work towards your goals. So they have systems in place like grades, professors, projects, and if you're taking the right classes that you want to be working on, then you're going to be held accountable to do work towards what you want to be doing in life. So if you're not easily motivated independently, or if you're not motivated independently, I don't think motivation is that easy of a thing to do. Like, it's really hard sometimes to instill proper motivation and then accountability and then follow through. So what college basically does is institutionalizes this, and you have a system of accountability, follow through, and then information. So I like it for that, especially if people, you know, don't have that independently. For the social aspects, for the opportunity aspects, and the social acceptance aspects, it's pretty good. Especially if you're just looking to, you know, find that cush job and, you know, fade away into the sunset. Although that never really happens. Even if you become like a doctor or a scientist, something like this, where your college degree actually does have an effect, it's going to be a field that's constantly changing, and you're constantly having to be able to do work and adjust yourself. So I kind of feel like there's this notion among younger people that, like, if I go to college, everything's going to be set and nothing is going to be needed to be done afterwards. And that's bullshit. That's actually farther from the truth than ever. I find college graduates that are actually successful work a lot harder than they would otherwise. So, I mean, unless you become a doctor, you work 9 years and then you like open your own practice, you know, just doing nothing and like having a cush job, not like stressful ER or anything, just like a nice family practice. That might be one of the few things. So I guess it does allow you to like get those little niche cush positions that require a degree. So that's a positive for it. But in order to be on point and like progress, college can help you get your accountability cycles worked out. It can help you, you know, adjust you to doing a high load of work while at the same time maybe working to support yourself as well. And so in that respect, it can get your stamina down, your attention down, your focus. And then it gives you that little pretty piece of paper, very expensive pretty piece of paper that might give you access to more school or to more work opportunities. So those are the reasons why I like it. Why I don't like it. Why I don't like college is for the price tag. One, it's very inaccessible to the average person on a regular income. And I feel like it, especially if you have no end game in sight and college is just like a shot in the dark, it's almost like a trap, because you're going to end up paying off these debts that you can't get rid of, especially here in the United States. If you're in a country where you get college for free, then by all means, make your degree in, English studies where there's no job opportunities, but you really love it, and go with that. And then you can go on from there to do anything, you want to, and meander your way. But you won't have this huge debt load. Whereas if you're in the States, you're going to have a huge debt load that you have to repay unless your parents pay for it. So, the money's the reason, the amount of money it costs. Second, it externalizes the accountability cycle. So, for example, someone else is holding you accountable at your college, like a professor, instead of you holding yourself accountable for something you want to achieve. And then that translates to you, most of the time, for most people, always working for someone else, for someone else's direction. So it's not necessarily that you're working for someone else. That is the part that it's not that I don't like when people work for other people. It's when people work for other people but also don't have the internal drive to create what they want to create in the world, because they're used to only having external accountability cycles. So, having said that, what else do I not like about college? I don't like the idea of college. I don't like the social idea that, you ain't shit if you didn't go to college. I think that you can look around yourself and find people that have gone to college and have done absolutely nothing with their degree, or their lives for that matter, are doing nothing and, don't really care, and then they have this huge debt. And I would have recommended to them, or would recommend to them, maybe find something you're inspired in. And then people going into college, I'd recommend to them to think very carefully, like, what is this gonna be giving me in return? And if they're just doing it for a piece of paper to get into somewhere, just make sure the risk reward or the cost reward ratio is something you can accept. Like, is this $100,000 degree gonna be worth the increase in income that I'm able to achieve over the course of my working career? And then to people who don't go to college, you must create your own college, basically, or just float around in the sea of whatever. And this is actually one of my favorite subjects is how to school yourself and how to create your own university, and the university for you. And it's something that I've been practicing for a while now. And it never ends, too. It's like, college never ends. Woo! There's no schools out for the summer. Although there are breaks. So why is this valuable to you? This is valuable to you. This is valuable to anyone, really, who has gone to college or has not gone to college. And basically what it means, the College of You or the University of You, is you take the skills that you want to learn, you develop an internal accountability cycle, and you learn them. And you do research on subjects you want to learn, and you learn them. And then the final test, the final grade that you get, instead of having someone give you a nice piece of paper that says you got a 4.0 at the end of the class, your final test is the real world. And so, like, for example, if it's in business, your final test is whether your business succeeds and keeps succeeding. So it's also an ongoing thing. If it's investments, it's whether your investments are reaping a reward, of whether they're growing, whether there's an income coming in from them. If it's in relationships, it's whether you're having a good relationship right now. If you're able to be comfortable with yourself and be open. So it's like all these things that you want to do, you get them together, you make a list of them, and then you systematically work on them and create your own accountability cycle, like you would work on homework for a university. And it's free. And you start to develop like internal strength and a drive to learn independently from other people. You learn a whole lot more, and you also get used to having none of like the safety nets, and so therefore you have the option to go work for yourself, to go work maybe in a higher risk environment. Because in college you're shielded from the real world, and it creates this own little fantasy world. It's like going to Disneyland basically and going on a ride. There's very little external consequence, whereas when you're on the real world and you go for a ride, there's a lot of consequences. There's no one really looking after you, making sure you succeed or actively trying to help you, and but at the same time there's a closer feedback response from the world than when you're in college. Because when you're in college, you do the work and then you just give it to your professor, and it's actually very skewed because it's only the professor giving you feedback, or your peers, and they're all only in a certain mindset. Whereas if you're starting a business, you gotta find your clients, you gotta, balance your sheets and make all these little items work in order for it to actually give you a positive feedback. And there's almost no there's ways to incrementally step up to it, and I think that's what college is really good at. It breaks things down into smaller steps. But I feel like when you work at something outside of a college and you learn something outside of a college, it's much more applicable, because what you're practicing on is real life, and then what you're testing on is real life. And there's not this idea in your head that once you finish with college, you're finished learning. That's probably a very big bogus thing. That probably one of the biggest bogus things that we believe about college, besides the fact that you need to go to college. I will say you need to go to college for certain things. Like, you need to go to college if you want to work as a doctor. You need to go to college if you want to work as an engineer. You want to go to college if you want to work as a professor, teaching college. But outside careers like that, where it requires the piece of paper, there is this whole vast world around you of direct response, where you can create businesses, you can partner with people, get yourself into good companies, and maybe you won't fly as high without a degree in companies, for example, but at the same time maybe you'll fly higher in business without the degree, at least in some respects, because everything you learn, you have to learn from direct experience, whereas everything you learn in a college could bias you certain ways. Like, for example, in business, if they teach you, like the mechanics of business, it's only a theoretical, not a practical. And if they teach you something that the professor believes or that the professor found was true after experience that other people have had maybe a few years ago, it could be outdated already, and you'll just have to go relearn everything again. So those are the few points of view on whether to go to college and whether not to go to college. And you really have to sit down, look at yourself, decide what your values are, whether it's worth it for you to go to college and pay the money, or whether you have the internal accountability or ability to be accountable for yourself and for your own progress as a human. So that's it. I'm gonna cut the video off now. That got into a little ramble, but that's the idea. I'll probably expand on this later, go a little bit deeper into how to create your own university per se. But have a good day and nice chat.